Welcome to the SubHub podcast. My name is Danny Moreno.
And I'm MK Sullivan. And today in our American Women at the Golden Trail World Series final, this is a lot of words, but we're doing it. We've got Rachel Tomajczyk. Rachel is a multiple-time All-American for Baylor University, former steeplechaser. She started running trails not that long ago in like 2021 and has kind of become a staple on the U.S. trail team since then. I think she's made 3 trail teams in that short amount of time. But she's also been on the Golden Trail World Series for a couple of years now, just slowly trying to move herself into those rankings. And this year she made a huge leap, ending up 11th overall in the ranking at the end of the season with a couple of pretty big performances.
Yeah, Rachel has been gaining momentum year after year, so we are really excited to talk to her about that journey. She started in Four Sisters, China, participated in Broken Arrow, as well as Mammoth Trail Fest and Headlands, and finished 10th in the final at the final. So they have the prologue and the final, and she finished 10th. Yeah, we are really, really excited for you all to listen to this episode with Rachel, where we talk about the changes she has made year over year, why she chose to pursue trail running, and more.
And don't forget to subscribe to the SubHub headlines, please. We don't put out anything other than our monthly newsletter, so we won't spam your mailboxes, but it is fun. We do have a lot of information in there. Follow us on Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure to leave us a rating if you're enjoying the pod.
Hey everyone, Danny here. Leading up to OCC, one of my biggest concerns was staying healthy and not getting sidelined by any sickness. After all, the last thing you want is months of training thrown out by a cold or a flu. That's where Beekeepers Naturals came in. I've been using their immune boosting products for over a year now, and they've become my secret weapon for keeping my immune system strong during tough training blocks. Honestly, they didn't just help me stay healthy, but they also took away a lot of the stress of worrying about getting sick. Their star ingredient, propolis, is packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. My personal favorite is the throat spray, but they also have lozenges, syrups, and even options for kids. So if you're looking for a natural way to support your immune system, I highly recommend giving Beekeepers Naturals a try. Use code SUBHUB20 for 20% off any and all of your orders at beekeepersnaturals.com. Now back to the episode.
Hey Rachel, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
We're good.
We're good.
Trying to cover all of you like badass women in 1 week. It's been fun.
Yeah, it was a fun week. It was really fun to have so many awesome like American women up there too.
Yeah, and you are one of them. So we're so happy to have you today. First and foremost, how is recovery going? We're now about a week out from all of the final shenanigans.
Yeah. It's going well now. I took like 3 days off intentionally, and then I was gonna kind of start running again because I was planning or am planning on doing Moab and Bentonville. And then I got like really sick. I got something like coming back from Europe. I feel like that always happens, like traveling internationally, but I'm feeling better again, so that's good.
And you're doing Moab this weekend.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. It's really close. It's like maybe a 6-hour drive from here. And I feel like it's just kind of like a fun race at the end of the season. So I'm excited for it. I don't have too many expectations, but I think it'll be fun.
I mean, the nice thing is that you'll probably be like pretty recovered since you took some downtime, even if some of it was forced. So you might feel better than you think.
That's true. Maybe my legs are fresh. Who knows?
That's awesome. Well, it's really cool that you're going to be jumping into those USA championships to finish off the year. But before we talk a little bit about the beginning of this year, just to go a little bit to the beginning, we know you had an incredible track career over at Baylor, but it does look like you perhaps took some time off between Baylor and your first trail race, Narnar in 2021, where you made a USA team on your first go. And so we're just curious, like what you were doing during that time and how you found yourself gravitating towards the trails.
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, Baylor was a lot of fun. And then after Baylor, I actually ran professionally on the road and track for a little bit. I was on, I don't know if you know this team, but I was on Furman Elite, which is out of
Oh
Greenville, South
yeah.
Carolina, and they're not a team anymore, so people may not have heard of it. But yeah, it was a team like back when I graduated from college. And so I was on that team for a little bit. Kind of kept getting injured. I went through an eating disorder when I was in college, and I think it just really caught up to me. Like when I was running professionally on the road and track. And so, yeah, had a bunch of stress fractures and just injuries right after college. And then I was on Furman Elite for maybe 2 years, and then actually moved out to Flagstaff and decided to be coached by Ryan Hall. So I trained with him for about a year out in Flagstaff and still just like kept getting injured. So I ended up taking a coaching job in Virginia at Liberty University. And I was kind of just like, I don't know, like I still kind of want to run and explore like that, but I feel like I need to do something other than just like running because I need to set up my life if like I keep getting injured and this just isn't happening. So I ended up doing that and I coached there for 2 years and was still kind of running on the road and track and racing there. But kind of just got burned out from it. And there are a ton of trails out in Virginia. Like it's a really fun place to run. The Appalachian Trail is probably like 40 or 45 minutes away. And there are like 60 miles of trails on Liberty's campus. And they're not like huge mountain trails, but they're really hilly, just like up, down, like fun trails to run in. So after I was kind of feeling burned out on the road and track, I just started running in the trails, just kind of like easy runs and stuff. And then, yeah, hopped into my first trail race and really loved it. And it ended up moving out to back to Flagstaff or Williams. I got married and we kind of just decided to move back out west after that. So, yeah, I've kind of moved around a lot. And took some time off from running professionally, coached for a while, but yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure.
If you don't mind sharing, you said that you struggled with injury over the years. Was it like the same recurring injury, or were you getting different ones every time?
A little bit of both. The first really bad one was like an Achilles injury, and I had that, and then I broke a metatarsal in my toe. So I had a stress fracture. Then, and it was kind of like 6 months later, I got that. Then 6 months after that, I had another Achilles injury. 6 months after that, I had like post tib tendonitis. 6 months after that, I had another Achilles injury. Like, and then I got a stress fracture in my femur. And that was like the worst one that I had. And then after that, I feel like I kind of started getting healthy again and like being able to run a little bit more consistently. But yeah, for a while there, it was like every 6 months I would get injured and I would feel like, okay, I'm getting in shape again. Like I feel like I can really crush some races and maybe I would race once and then I would just like totally get injured. So yeah.
Dang. Well, I'm sorry that you went through that, but it sounds like the journey you've been on has led you to a great place where you are now, just with trail
Thanks.
running and stuff. As funny as it is, one of my best friends was on Furman, Ryan Martin.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he
He
went to UCSB where I ran.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny, like now, looking back and knowing you now, I remember Ryan talking about like, yeah, there's this girl, she was on my team in college, Danny, and she's like crushing it in the trails. And I don't know why I remember that conversation, but that was like back when I was on Furman Elite. Yeah, and now I know who you are. So
That's crazy.
small
Yeah,
world.
small
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, like I said, I'm glad you are where you are now and stuff. It's unfortunate that your story is not, or it's pretty common, like with that collegiate system, and hopefully it's trending better from people like yourself being open with your stories. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Um,
Yeah.
how did you find Narnar?
Um, I feel like since I had been on the road and trail, I was just like, I know there's US championships, and so like what's a US championship that is like on the trails? And I knew like so Grayson had been in Flagstaff when I was in Flagstaff. And so she had kind of like gotten into trails and had done some of the US championships. So I had seen like she was doing that. My friend Courtney had also like been on the track and roads and did like steeplechase. They were both steeplechasers and got into the trails. And that was kind of like the route that anybody that I knew that had done roads and track had gotten into trails with was like kind of the US mountain championships. And I feel like I went into that race just kind of thinking like, this is a fun race. Like, let's see how it goes and like respect everybody else because they're actual like trail runners and like you aren't, yeah, like you haven't like raced in trails yet. So it was kind of like a fun surprise to like do well in it. And yeah, it was a fun race.
Yeah, I mean, that was also a super unique year with Hawaii being where you
Yeah.
guys all ended up. But that was a great USA team that you guys
Yeah.
created that year. Um, but I
'Cause it
mean, oh, sorry,
was
go
it
ahead.
Grayson? Was it Grayson, yourself, and Bailey
And Megan Lacey.
and
And
Megan Lacey?
yeah.
Yeah, that was a great team.
Yeah.
Well, that ended up not being your last USA team, as you also you ultimately ended up representing us in Thailand, both in the vertical uphill, the up down, and then again in Innsbruck in the vertical and the up down, and then as well as Challenge Stelina and a couple other, maybe two Challenge Stelinas at this point, but or
I
just
did
one.
challenge Stelina, and then this year, it was going to be
Tiavana.
a NACAC team, and then NACAC got canceled. So we
That's right.
did the World Cup,
Okay.
like the vertical race. I think that's all the teams that I've made. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Thanks.
that's many,
Over
many,
3 years.
yeah, many a teams that you've made, which has been really cool. But
Thanks.
like we mentioned, that was mainly vertical and up down, and kind of transitioning to this year, you started your year entered in Black Canyon 100K. So we're just curious, like what
I tried.
inspired that the pursuit of Black Canyon?
Yeah, I think I just like I wanted to dip my toes into ultras and like see if I liked them. And I actually did. I really enjoyed the training for Black Canyon. And maybe I need to try another one. I was like throwing up like at mile 15, which was really weird and had not happened to me in training. And so it was like a really weird day. And I don't know exactly what happened or if that's just like how ultras feel, but I feel like they shouldn't, but I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I was like excited to kind of like try that out, but then it didn't really go that well. And then I kind of just was thinking like, um, you haven't been like plateauing in like the sub ultra distance. So just like, and I was enjoying that distance too. So I was kind of like thinking, why am I cutting myself short on this when maybe I could like do better in it? And I still have like some years to grow in that instead of like shifting. But yeah, I did really enjoy the training for like longer stuff.
I can relate to that. I like super enjoyed the training for 100K, which is why I decided to do another one this year. And
Yeah.
I should have just stuck with the first one as well. But no, I remember seeing you on the start list for Black Canyon, and I was like, wait, doesn't Rachel do short stuff? Like, what's going on here? Because you had only ever done like one other kind of longer race, right, at Transvolcania.
Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
50K?
It was a 50K, but it was
Yeah.
kind of a long race because there was like a lot of climbing. I think it was like 10,000 feet of like
Yeah.
climbing and descending. So yeah, it took a little bit longer than some do. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that you like are going to try to do the 100K distance again like next year or the year after that, or are you going to kind of stick with the shorter stuff?
I think for now, like this next year, I kind of want to stick with the shorter stuff, and maybe do Golden Trail Series again and try to make the world team and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm enjoying that distance for now. But yeah, I'm not opposed to trying long stuff again later on. But I think while I'm still like getting better at the shorter stuff, I don't really want to like stop doing it yet.
Definitely. I mean, there's plenty of women, you know, in Europe. Over here in the US, we're all like, oh, I'm getting old. I gotta run further. And, you know,
Yeah,
the amount of like moms in their late 30s that I've been beaten by in sub
I
ultras in the
know.
last 2 years is like unreal. So
Yes. Yeah, I feel like there's time for that later on if I want to do it. But yeah, I feel ya.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cool. It looks like you ended up pivoting almost immediately, heading over to Four Sisters, China, where you finished just outside the top 15, came back, broke an arrow 23K and the VK, sixth place in both. And then you ended up with 10th at Mammoth Trail Fest, and then Headlands 11th place. Oh no, sorry, 10th at
But
Headlands,
yeah.
11th at Mammoth Trail Fest. So yeah, why did you decide to pivot specifically? It looked like you're pursuing the Golden Trail World Series.
Yeah, I think so. I had done Golden Trail Series like the year before, and felt like I had done like kind of well in it, but I feel like that's just like the when you're talking about like sub ultras, I feel like that's like the most competitive circuit in the world for like sub ultra distances. And I kind of liked that like 2 to 3 hour range of races. Like I think that's kind of fun. So yeah, I think that was kind of something that I just wanted to explore more instead of doing a lot of their really short races. I think those races have just been like more fun for me. And so yeah, I just wanted to see if I could get better at them this year.
well, it definitely worked out because I remember you, I don't remember if it was a conversation that you and I had or if it's something that I read on Instagram, but I remember you like wanting to be in the top 30 last year so that you could qualify for the final. And this
Yeah.
year you're coming to these races and like you're top 10, you're close to top 10, and you know, you finished just outside of the top 10 for the overall ranking. So what do you feel changed from this year to last year? Was it training? Was it mindset?
Thanks. Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think and just like getting better at like running in trails too. I feel like some of the techie downhills I hadn't been like that great at when I first got into trails. Like I feel like some of the first races I did, like Nar was not a techie downhill at all. It was like super smooth and stuff. And that was kind of like the intro to a lot of my trail running. And then when I started doing Golden Trail Series, it was like, whoa, these are some really techie trails, and Europeans are really good at these like really techie, gnarly downhills. And I feel like I just went over to a different like over to Europe and saw people at like a completely different level, and saw things that I like really needed to work on also. And I think that's like fun for me to be able to like try to figure out the pieces of the puzzle. So anyway, yeah, I feel like this year it was a lot of like working on things that I saw as weaknesses, specifically with like technique in trails, and also adding in like a good amount of strength training, and adding in flat workouts again really helped me too. I think I was so burned out on the track and the roads when I first got into trails that I just like didn't even want to do speed workouts anymore. And so I really added those back in this year, and I think that helped a lot.
So as a coach, I often get the question like, how do I get better at downhill? How do I get better at like running technical downhills? So can you share with us what you kind of worked on in order to get the technique down?
Yeah, I feel like I just went and like tried to send downhills that were like techie. I feel like for me, uh, like practice is the best way to do it. And I think for a while when I was in trails, I would just like avoid those techie downhills. I'm like, oh, those trails aren't really fun. I don't really want to do them. And now I've kind of just leaned into them more. So I feel like for me, practice makes perfect. But then I also think there's probably some things that you could do like drills and just like plyometrics or like quick feet kind of things that could also help. Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question too, because that's probably honestly the most common question asked to trail runners
Yeah.
is how do you improve a downhill? And you heard it here, folks. Like even the professionals, this is a skill that we are constantly trying to get better at. And yeah, sometimes it's just about taking the chance in practice, even though it can be scary, and just letting loose. Also, I think your boyfriend, fiance, husband, is it
Husband. Yeah.
husband?
Yeah.
It looks like he runs trails too, with
Um,
you sometimes?
he doesn't love running in the trails, but he will run in the trails
Yeah.
for me. But he runs on the roads and does marathons and stuff like that. So yeah, but we do get to run in the trails sometimes together, and that's really fun.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, as far as, piecemealing all of these ideas together too of, how can I improve and continue to get better? Do you work with a coach or are you self-coached?
I self-coach right now, which I think has worked out well for me right now. I feel like I've had some really, really amazing coaches in my life. And yeah, just like my coach, my high school coach, my college coach, my coach at Furman Elite, Robert Geary was great. And then Ryan Hall was really awesome. And I feel like I've just taken things kind of from each person that I've been coached by. And I kind of feel like I know how I need to train to get better. And I'm sure I could keep learning things from other people, but I also kind of enjoy being able to just like piece together my week as I need to. I do like other stuff outside of running. And so it's really nice when I have a busy week with like other life things to like be able to plan my training around that. And not that a coach couldn't do that, but I think it's like nice for me to just be able to have the flexibility myself.
Well, it seems to be working out for you because you keep getting
Thanks.
better. So
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
that's very cool. So at Mammoth, you unfortunately got a little bit lost towards the end of the race.
Yes.
You were in eighth or ninth place? Eighth place
I think I was an
for,
eighth. Yeah.
yeah, you were in eighth place for quite a bit and then took a wrong turn with about 3 miles to go. And can you just talk to like the mental side of that for a second? Because in some races you could just be like, well, that was my shot, like I'm like the moment's passed, like I got lost, I'm out of the top 10. But in a race like a Golden Trail race, you have to like fight for points. 11th place still gets you more points than like 15th place. So
Totally.
everyone will make a wrong turn at some point, in their career probably. So like how did you work through that? How did you push, those last 3 miles to try to get the best out of that moment?
Yeah, that still haunts me like today. I was so upset when I figured out what I had done. But yeah, I think it was kind of just a mental thing where I was so locked into the race at that point where I feel like it would have been like it would have to be like a huge, huge thing to like really shake me mentally just because I was so focused. And uh I feel like in that moment I was just like, you can't do anything about making a wrong turn now. So you just have to like keep going and you're gonna finish higher up if you just keep going now than you would if you like throw yourself a pity party and just like keep losing places. And I think I saw Meow Yao like past I basically had to like go up the trail again and then like turn back onto it. And I saw Meow Yao like pass by maybe like 30 seconds ahead of me. So I feel like in my mind it was kind of like, okay, it's gonna be hard to like catch her, but like try not to let somebody else like pass you. So I was trying to catch her, but she's really good on the downhills and at the end of races and stuff. So wasn't quite able to get her. But yeah, I feel like that was just my mentality of like, um, just keep pushing and it's going to be better for you. And you still have to finish the race either way. So just like go hard now and think about mistakes later.
Yeah. It's thanks for sharing that because I know it's hard when you take a wrong
Yeah.
turn and it's a race that matters a lot to you, and for you, you're trying to get points for the final. But like you said, like you had to finish, like regardless, and you probably would have been more upset if you like walked it in, throwing a pity party than like truly trying until the very end. And then it paid off because you got to make it to the final. So yeah, just major kudos because having had taken wrong turns before, it's just like it's one of the parts of the sport where like you want to laugh in the moment, and maybe if it's a lower key race, like you can, but when it's a big one, you're like, F, like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like, and then you just have to pull it together really quick. So yeah, major kudos. I know that one sucked, but you still ended up
Thanks.
11th overall, which is awesome. And those points added up, like I said, to you getting to the final. Now you're at the final, and in you have the prologue and the final, you finished 10th, which was awesome considering all the
Thanks.
major players that were there. What did you think of it? Like the whole experience? What'd you think of the course? What'd you think of the flower format? What did you think of, having both the prologue and the final?
Yeah, I thought it was a super fun experience. I think that whole weekend just feels like really like they do a good job of building it up and just making it feel like fun and feel like a world class race. I think too. I think Golden Trail Series does a good job of that, and yeah, it's just really cool having athletes from like all over the world be there, and you're like competing against everybody. So yeah, it just feels like a really world class race, which is like so fun to be part of. I think I like the format of the weekend. I think it's kind of fun, like having a short prologue race and then a longer final race, because some athletes are really, really good at the short race, and then other athletes are really good at the long race. And you kind of have to like know yourself well enough to know how far or like how hard to push in the prologue so that you can come back to have a good final. So I think that's like kind of a fun piece of the weekend too, is just like figuring out what you need to do to have your best outcome for the weekend. So yeah, I think that was cool. I think the flower format, I have mixed feelings on it because it was actually like kind of confusing going through. Like we went through the start finish area so many different times, and we had to like go different ways every time we went through it. And on the last loop, um there were people like pointing you in the right way, but they weren't like the Golden Trail Series people who like knew you. They were just kind of like random volunteers, and one of them thought that I was like slower, I guess, and that I was on like loop 3 when I was supposed to be on loop 4, and pointed me the wrong way. So I almost did another mammoth and like went the wrong way, but I was like, no. Then I knew the course and I was like, no, I need to go this other way. So I didn't make the mistake, but it was like a little bit confusing in there. But then I also enjoy it because it's really great for spectators to just have like a base and be able to like see people come through like 3 or 4 different times. And then I know it's also really nice for bottle service and fueling and stuff like that too. So mixed feelings on it, but overall, I think it's like really cool and positive. So yeah, it was a really fun weekend. And I also appreciate that they have like men and women on alternating days, because you can go and like watch the men, and the men can like cheer on the women too. So I think that's really fun.
Yeah, I really appreciated the because this year was the first year that I'd done a Golden Trail race where it was separate. And so doing the
Yeah,
Headlands race where it was like separate days and then having a different start at Mammoth was so nice. Like just to be in
yes,
your own race was pretty
totally.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the main reasons that we want to chat with you is like just to talk about American women in trail running and specifically in sub ultra trail running right now. And I'm just curious because you've made several US teams now. You've been in the sport for 3 years. Like, yeah, tell me like your thoughts, I guess, on like where we're at right now. How cool does it feel to be a part of like this wave of women that are kind of taking over from the US?
Yeah, it's been really cool. I think it's so fun to go to international races and just feel like um, there's all these other American women that are racing really well too. And I think it's fun, like when you get to race people in the States and then you race them internationally too. Like, I feel like if you're all finishing higher up internationally, there's just this feeling of like, we've raced together. Like I've been with these girls and I can do it now on the international stage too. And I think that's something like really fun. Maybe we don't get to like train together all the time or anything like that, but we at least get to race each other and can kind of like build confidence maybe from the races that we do over in the US to like the international fields as well. So yeah, it's just really fun like having a lot of momentum around American women in sub ultra running right now. And it's kind of like, if they can do it, I can do it kind of mentality. And I think that's really fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. I don't know why this until you said it in the fashion that you did. Like, um, when I started, or even a couple years ago, the main way that shorter distance focused athletes got international experience was world championships. So if you're on
Mm,
a Team USA, that's like you'd say like, "Oh, I raced in Italy or I flew so." But now with series like the Golden Trail World Series, you can get international experience with different shorter races where the depth is insane with talent and quality of runners. And so yeah, when you line up for something like Broken Arrow, right? Like you're like, oh, you were at that race and you're at that race where before it was just like, oh, we were on Team USA together. So I think that to your point, like it is really cool. Like you can show up to a lot of US shorter distance races now, and a lot of the top runners have had that international experience like in other ways. So that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun thing for sure. Yeah. And Danny, I feel like I owe you a thank you too, because I feel like you started all of this of like being in the Golden Trail series and making sub ultra running like more popular. And you were like one of the people that I looked up to when I first started running in trails. So, and I guess even before that, when Ryan mentioned you when I was on permanently. But anyway, I feel like you've just done so much for the sport. And you too, MK, like both of you just doing this podcast. Yeah, I think it's really fun. So
I'm definitely still a noob, but I'll take it.
Well, I thank you for that. There definitely was some women before me. I think I just came at a time where the media was starting to get more exposed. But thank you. I appreciate that a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. For sure.
Um, just to kind of like close us out, again, like you finished 11th in the overall ranking, so freaking close.
I
I'm sure
know.
that's making you so hungry for next year. So
Yes.
yeah, speaking of next year, what are you thinking? Another Black Canyon go at it, or full into Golden Trail? But there's also World Championships. Where is your mind at currently?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I am definitely hungry for next year because I tied point wise with 10th place. And so I'm like, yep, if I hadn't made that wrong turn, you can always play that game though. So I'm sure the 10th place girl, if I had been a little bit in front of her, she could have said, like, but I could have done this and this. So I don't want to play that game too much. But anyway, yeah, for next year, I'm definitely excited and I'm trying to like hold myself back a little bit. I know I'm gonna do Moab and Bentonville, but I think this year I really hit training well, and I think the training for Black Canyon really helped me build a good base to like doing well in the summer. And I feel like the races in Asia were pretty good, but not like amazing. But then by the end of the year, I was kind of like peaking when I wanted to peak and needed to. So yeah, I think I'm trying to hold myself back a little bit from saying like, okay, well, I can do this race and this race and this race and like just go out and crush it, because I want to make sure that I have that like good base of training and stuff like that under me, that I'll build during the winter and things. But I do think that I want to focus on Golden Trail Series next year again, and then the US champs and hopefully making the world team. I'm not really sure if I want to try to make it in like the short trail versus like classic or VK. I could kind of see it going either way, but yeah, they haven't really released any of the dates yet for races. So I'm excited to see that, and then excited to see what Golden Trail Series will be like too. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard because I don't know which races are when next year. So yeah, still trying to think it through and piece together a season. But it's definitely exciting to think about.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm pretty sure that USATF and ATRA are like planning to come out with the schedule like in the next month or whatever, and then everybody's all of a sudden going to be like, this is what my schedule looks like.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone's going to be doing the same races, I'm sure. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Huge congrats on your season, and good luck at Moab this weekend.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
crush it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, this has been the Sub Hub podcast brought to you by Free Trail.